And to that point, there's a statistic that women will apply to job descriptions, they meet like 80%, and men will apply if they meet like 40. Which is wild to me because did you read it? Yeah, so you have to keep in mind these job descriptions are a wish list. They either want you to be the exact person who just left this role or everything that person was plus more, but it's really just a wish list. It's not like, it's usually not everything is required. Abby, did you?
Sure. So like, when you're applying to these jobs, like one of the things I found most disenchanting is job boards. And so how do you stand out? And one of the strategies I used for my previous jobs was reaching out to people, like reaching out to the engineering manager within that team that I was applying for. Therefore, you're like a little bit more different than the thousands and thousands of applications that are coming in. So they're like, oh, there's actually a face of this person, and it just makes it a little bit more different. And then also, if you like reach out to them and you talk to them, and you realize you don't want to work with them, or you do, you're like, oh, okay, so this is what the engineering manager does today. Or this is what I do. Yay! So you get to like eliminate stuff too from there. Just adding that personal touch is really important because like, have you ever been on the other side of like, I've seen like the website that recruiters use, and it's literally hundreds of names. And I'm like, how do you even pick? And sometimes they're like, oh, I like the name of the sound of this name. And I'm like, what? That's really good. And so yeah, that personal touch is very important.
Yes, try to project.
Oh, I can do that. Hi, I'm Nico. I have a question about the interviewing process. So you've all landed roles at like awesome companies, but as I've been going out there, you never really know what to expect in terms of like whiteboarding. Will you have to meet the entire team? Are you sitting down with like the founder of the company for an hour? Do they want you to hang out with them at a bar for 5 hours and they're testing to see if you're like chill enough? Like, do you have any advice for navigating the different types of interview processes that you're going to meet with these type of companies for like newbies who are coming out of boot camps or school and just haven't faced it yet?
So the question is advice for the different types of interview formats, whether more casual or more technical.
I'm guessing you guys slate it, so I'm hoping you can teach me how to slate it too.
Big tech companies work pretty differently. They have a pretty regimented process of how to get people through it. Then I think that's a lot easier because you know what to expect, and when you ask your recruiter at the beginning, like, hey, what's this gonna look like, they usually give it to you. So at Google, usually I think there's a phone screen, there's a coding challenge when you apply, and then there's a phone screen if they like you, and then I think you have a coding interview over the phone. This is for a software engineering role, where you code on a Google Doc, a shared Google Doc, and they ask you the question. And then I think you have 2 or 3 of those, and then they go in person for like a 4-hour interview, and that's usually like 3 interviews of whiteboarding, a lunchtime chat with someone who's on a similar team, where you can ask general questions, and then finally like a conversation with an engineering manager. You know what each interview will look like going in, so there's no surprises. How that works at a smaller company that might not have a system, I don't know. I've never applied to a small company, so I can't advise you on that part.
For technical interviews, the recruiter could be your best friend most of the time. You can ask a lot of questions, be like, hey, listen, so what am I expecting? And they're like, lots of whiteboard, and you're like, cool. And so just study a lot. This is a lot of work. You have to put in the work, guys. Glassdoor usually has really good resources of what interview questions they're putting out there. There's also an app called Blind where it tells you like, it's like anonymous. It tells you like how interview processes go. And so yeah, recruiters study. Hope that's helpful.
I completely agree. I think sometimes it seems like you can't ask a recruiter what you should expect, but you totally can say like, hey, I'm going to be there 4 hours. Am I going to do a technical challenge? Like, what types of things should I expect? They of course won't tell you the question, but they can give you a gauge of like the structure of your day. And I would also say beforehand, if you're applying to a ton of different companies, to make sure that you practice with your friends, like the various types of interviewing. Because like whiteboarding is very different from pair programming, which is very different from just like you alone on keyboard coding while people watch you. So just making sure that you flex all of those muscles a lot so you're ready when the time does come.
Any other questions? All right, well, my last question. Do you guys have any people in the space that you look up to? They don't necessarily have to be women of color, although I prefer. But who do you guys really look up into the space, whether they're well known or not? Who's kind of a role model for you?
Professionally, there's a woman called Erica Baker at Erica Joy on Twitter. She's super awesome. I saw her speak at a conference when around the time when there was like hashtag I look like an engineer. She spoke about that and how being a black woman was hard in tech and how being called a unicorn was a negative thing because like no one wants to really be a unicorn. Like do you really want to be that rare? Yes, they also don't exist. Saying that black women don't exist in tech is not a positive thing. So I read a lot of her work on Twitter and on Medium when she shares her struggles. What I also really love about her is whenever I've heard her speak, she's very unapologetic about how great she is at being an engineer. And that's a goal of mine, because I think usually people are like, oh, you work at Google, that's so awesome. I'm like, maybe, I don't know. Which I think is just like my internal imposter syndrome coming out, being like, am I really supposed to be there? But what I love about her is when she's like, I was killing it in my job and they were not treating me the right way, so I moved. And I'm like, okay, that's a great place to be at. Another person on Twitter is Kaya Thomas. She's my age and has this really awesome app called Reread Too. I've never met either of these people, by the way, but I look up to them from Twitter from afar. Being the same age as them, they give me a lot of like inspiration on how much difference you could make at a younger age, and makes me feel like I can do more. I mean, I don't have to, but I can, and that there are definitely opportunities and experiences that I haven't explored yet. So those are two people that I look up to a lot professionally.
So I have two. They're both either we're at LinkedIn or at LinkedIn now. One of them is a software engineer who was at LinkedIn for 5 years. Her name is Camilla Taylor. And she looked just like me. So much that people call me Camilla on campus. And I'm just like, no, two people, Afro, but not the same person. And so she was there for 5 years and she kicks butt. And we talk about very similar experiences that we're having. And it's just nice to have that shared experience. And she's killing out there, just like an engineering